This is the Coach Tom Anthony Show on your home for Pitt State football.
To the near edge, and he's buried. Jordan Rogers was not fooled. Drops him back at the 11-yard line.
Highlights, insights, and what's next for Pittsburgh State.
Jalen Fuchs, far side return for Pitt State, has a sideline. Jalen Fuchs is going to go after a block punt for a safety. Pitt State special teams strikes again. Fuchs with a first career touchdown. It comes via kickoff return. It is 22-7. You got to be kidding me.
Here's the voice of the Gorillas, Eddie Lomshek.
Greetings and welcome to the latest installment of the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Pitt State football coming off a 31-16 win over Fort Hays State on Family Day. The Gorillas overall record now stands at 2-2. They level their conference record at 1-1 as well. Incredibly hard-fought game before a sold-out crowd. Thankfully, not quite as hot and steamy as it was the week before with Grand Valley, but there was still plenty of humidity in the air. But boy, Pitt State earned this one a full 4 quarters. It took 60 minutes for Pittsburgh State, and a really exciting fourth quarter for the Gorillas. Eddie Lomshek along with Pitt State head football coach Tom Anthony. And Coach, I guess with that stuff, given that you say it's a 60-minute game, and thankfully it is, not a 45-minute game, but no surprise, right? Playing Fort Hays State, you expected this to be a 4-quarter battle.
Yeah, I knew a good team was coming in here, well coached, very talented. I knew it was going to be a tough game. I knew it was probably going to be a defensive battle, going in, just knowing what they can do on the defensive side of the football, and I think what we're capable of at times as well. But yeah, just proud of the way our guys finished. We didn't play very well for the first 3.5 quarters, but the last 9 minutes kind of went our way. So just, again, proud of our guys and the way they continue to finish football games and battle back. We just, we got to play 4 quarters.
Yeah, you ever think about just lining up and sticking it to somebody in the first quarter and put it on cruise control? It makes it a lot easier, right?
Yeah, that'd be a lot less stressful.
Yeah, Coach is coaching a high-stress business, and it is for the broadcasters as well. I don't need that anxiety. I'm not getting any younger, Coach, so let's take care of business. So, yeah, hard-fought coming in. Your ball club was coming off the win over Grand Valley. You had that 0-2 start. You have to be careful about exhaling too much, right? How'd you feel about the preparation week going into Hays?
Yeah, not as good as it was, I don't think, against Grand Valley. Just kind of up and down, some hit and miss stuff. We had, just going back to the defensive side of the ball, didn't have a great practice Tuesday, had a really good practice on Wednesday when we start to cover our third down and red zone stuff. And magically, we did really well on third down, and did really well in the red zone, on Saturday. So just getting our guys to realize the importance of Sunday through Friday. And like Grayson said, that passion, for just preparation and things like that is what we really got to focus on.
Yeah, you mentioned practice, third down, red zone Wednesday. Give people an idea of scripting practice, because they may think that you just kind of show up at 3 o'clock and you do whatever, but how much work goes into it, and do you do kind of the same thing every day each week?
No, Monday we kind of use that as a day to kind of review the opponent and kind of from the previous Saturday, and then do a quick kind of walkthrough install of the upcoming opponent. Tuesday is going to be kind of where we focus on early down preparation, first, second down. Wednesday is more of a third down red zone day. Thursday, Friday, then you're just kind of reviewing everything and hitting it. So that's just kind of how we structure practice and work our way through the week. And again, just, continuing to stress, to 18 to 22-year-olds, just how important, the preparation piece is. We can't just show up on Saturday and play a football game.
And then scripting things. You hear about coaches scripting plays. That usually applies more to the offense, and that can change depending on how it goes. Defensively, how much is scripted early versus simply reacting to how they line up?
Yeah, I think a lot of it with defense is, to me, it's more focusing on maybe the tempo of their offense, formations, certain things they can stress you out within your defense. Then obviously when we get to the third down stuff, that can be more of a week-to-week thing, depending on what you like to do, defensively and where you think you can attack them. But that first, second down preparation defensively is more, hey, here's stuff they like to do. This is how it can stress us out. This is how we have to align to it. Just getting kind of some of those base down and distance calls in.
If you look at Fort Hays State, first drive of the game, they had the ball, and they take 7 minutes off the clock. They get a field goal. You guys get the ball, and you have almost a 4-minute drive. The first quarter is about 75% over. Each team has it once. But even though you had to settle for a field goal as well, when they have a time-consuming drive, how important was it for your offense to give your defense a break and put some points on the board yourselves?
That was huge, for our offense to be able to go out there and establish a drive as well, and be able to, get down there and get points. Was huge, just to give our defense a blow, and also for us to be able to get our guys to the sideline, calm them down, go through a few adjustments that we needed to cover. So that's always good when your offense can respond and help you out. And again, I think the offense had a phenomenal game. Obviously a little stagnant in the first half, and made some adjustments at halftime, and we were able to execute that stuff there late in the game.
And I know at halftime you told Sam Reeves, our sideline reporter, about the missed tackles. That was, that happened early with, they throw a couple different backs at you. Their leading rusher coming in did not play, suffered a recent injury. So with missed tackles, obviously the other team is trying to, and credit them for being able to step a guy or whatever. But say at halftime, what are some things you're trying to stress to your guys about finishing tackles?
The finish is the biggest part, and I think that was the biggest glaring difference when I watched the Grand Valley game versus when I watched the Fort Hays game, is we just didn't finish at the point of attack, defensively with tackling stuff. We tackled really well against Grand Valley. Then we come out against Ferris, and there was just a little bit of hesitation, I felt, when I watched the film, and, on Sunday when we came in. So just continue to stress to our guys, man, like, when you play defensive football, you can't hesitate, right?
Right.
I mean, you got to go, and you got to throw your knife, and you got to take a shot. And if you miss, you got to miss to your leverage. And I think we struggled a little bit with that too, was leveraging the football appropriately, knowing where our help was.
Yeah, big difference between a 2 or 3 yard gain and an 8 or 10 yard gain, or even more than that. And so all part of it, and the teaching process that comes out of it. With Hays, talk about effort, physicality, things like that. Grand Valley and Hays, when teams are as good as they are up front defensively, talk about, I guess, the emphasis that, not that you don't emphasize it every week, but the need to play with certain pad level and leverage and physicality.
Yeah, I think playing with pad level and physicality is important, but also staying ahead of schedule. When we talk about our guys on offense, we can't get behind the sticks. When you get behind the sticks against a good defensive line or a really good defense, now they're going to start teeing off on you. Your play call sheet starts to get limited a little bit. So staying ahead of schedule is really, really important, when you are facing a really good defense with a good defensive front.
And these games, obviously at Grand Valley, it was brutal conditions, 93 or whatever at kickoff, and you're just in a tug of war. And then Fort Hays State, it's kind of similar, because you start looking at second half possessions, and we'll go through the game, just punt, that kind of thing. Talk about the mental toughness needed in these games when it is a one possession game and every play could matter.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to continue to stress to your guys just the importance of, playing with great eye discipline on defense, playing with great leverage, offensively, again, making sure we're playing with physicality, staying ahead of the sticks. And you're not going to score on every possession, but just stressing to our guys the importance of being able to flip the field with field position, which I thought we did a phenomenal job of Saturday. Tyler Antle did a great job punting the football for us and was able to flip the field for us a couple times. So that's a huge part of that too, when you're in a defensive battle, which we've been in a lot of those the first 4 weeks. We've played some really, really good defenses here in the first, on the front half of the season. So being able to, when you do have to punt, when you do have to kick off, being able to flip that field position in your favor, I think is a huge part of these games too.
Yeah, looking forward, Tyler Antle, best game of the year, 4 punts, averaged 49 yards, a long of 60 with that roll. Talk about the improvement in your punt game from week 1.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job. I mean, Tyler's really a freshman. I mean, he's a redshirt freshman, but this is really his first year punting at the college level because he redshirted, last year. So him getting more comfortable with our scheme and what we do, and just kind of where we're trying to place the ball on certain punts, I think he's getting better and better each week, and getting more and more confident.
Austin O'Hara, your long snapper, made a tackle. The St. Paul Flash runs down there, and he let everybody know it, so that was good to see. I didn't know if he had a tackle coming in or not, but always good to see those long snappers run down there and that sort of thing. And, Coach, you go back to some of the intangibles you feel you have in place in this program. When you're in games like Grand Valley and Hays, and it may be frustrating at times when you feel like you're banging your head against the wall of 3 and out, and you've got to go right back out there. Talk about mental toughness, but also where do the intangibles come into play so your guys don't crack on the sideline and there's no one side of the ball pointing at the other?
Yeah, just getting them back to the sideline between each possession, defense and offense, calming them down. Hey, guys, here's what went wrong. Here's what we got to fix. And I think our guys they're starting to build a really, really good confidence in each other, knowing that maybe when one side of the ball is down, the other side's ready to pick them up. That complementary football type deal. And I think we really saw that, kind of in, that as we got into that fourth quarter, guys started feeding off each other, and that confidence kind of flipped into our favor, and we were able to keep the momentum.
You saw it at Central Oak. You had that pick, and your defense stood right up, turned them over on downs deep in your own territory in the fourth quarter. Yeah, a great example of that. Pitt State, one side of the ball doing it and the other cashing it in. So we'll go back through the game. We'll take our first break. When we come back, our player segment, receiver Greyson Holbert will join us. Back with more of the Coach Tom Anthony Show right after this.
The Silverback Fund just helps us go above and beyond to be able to be the best in the MIAA.
You see it as a financial investment, but it's really an investment in people, which is what Pitt State's all about.
We recruit at such a high level. We are competing against a lot of Division I's now. What's going to set us apart and have us in the conversation is the financial part of it.
We couldn't have this success without individual donors, without the community support.
If you're on the fence about giving, come out to games, look at the athletes, and see what kind of experiences they're getting.
Welcome back to the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Eddie Lomshek on our player segment, and with us, junior receiver Greyson Holbert for Pittsburgh State. Big game for this young man in a 31-16 win over Fort Hays State this past Saturday. The Gorillas level their overall record at 2-2 and their conference record at 1-1 out of Blue Valley High School in Overland Park. Greyson Holbert with us, and so, hey, congratulations. First of all, just talk about this team and winning the last couple of games to dig out of that 0-2 start.
You know, this team's special. Like you said, 0-2 start. We really had to come together and figure some things out. And we talk about having a passion for preparation. And these past 2 weeks, we really did that. And I think the most important thing is we found a passion to finish and a passion to finish games.
Yeah, that was big. Obviously, both very, very close games, and this one kind of a deceiving 15-point final score, but that's why it's 4 quarters and 60 minutes, and the Gorillas proving that. You hear the term culture a lot. Talk about what you guys feel you have in place that helped you through that 0-2 start instead of some teams that might divide them a little bit.
I think the culture here is very special. I think we have a lot. It's a big brotherhood here, and we can lean on each other and count on each other to make plays when we need to make plays, and if we need someone, we can lean on them.
For you, out of Blue Valley High School, obviously right up the road, I consider that kind of a local school, 90 minutes from home down here to Pittsburgh. Take me back to coming out of high school, the recruiting process. How much did you know about Pittsburgh State football? I
knew a lot just because, funny enough, my brother played at Emporia State, so I had heard a lot about Pittsburgh State and the culture here.
And what did it come down to, you think, you coming here out of Blue Valley?
Honestly, the coaches and the people here, it was a great atmosphere, and the people care about us, and the coaches also care a lot about us.
And one thing about you that, I know I refer to you a lot as a quarterback from your senior year of high school, but I know you moved around quite a bit. So talk about what all you played position-wise in high school and in the recruiting process, what was told to you about where you might land in college.
So I started off as quarterback my freshman year, and then I moved to running back my sophomore year. And then I got the opportunity to play quarterback again my junior and senior year. And then when Coach Ant was recruiting me, he recruited me to be a safety at first. And then the offensive room kind of stole me and moved me to receiver. So
yeah, shows what he knows, right, with that stuff. But you never know with those things. You're obviously a guy that can play a lot of places. Blue Valley, good program, competitive 6A program. You're in the Eastern Kansas League, the Blue Valley schools, Aquinas, et cetera. Most competitive league in the state of Kansas. How do you think coming from a really competitive high school program and conference helped you for college?
I think it helped a lot. A lot of the guys that I played against went Division I and are at some of the schools around here. It helps a lot getting to play against those guys at a high level in high school. Greyson
Holbert with us on our player segment of the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Pitt State coming off a 31-16 win before a sellout crowd over Fort Hays State on Family Day this past weekend, off to Emporia State this week. So as you get to college, you obviously have to put in your time, but you did not have a redshirt year initially. What was that like as a true freshman adjusting to the college game?
It was something. It was pretty interesting. I had to adapt pretty fast. They kind of threw me into the fire, but I was ready for it. Just kind of ran with it.
And then eventually a coaching change. Obviously, Coach Wright leaves for Northern Arizona. Coach Anthony was on staff, defensive side of the ball, and then he's gone for that summer and fall. What do you recall thinking about when there was that player meeting and Coach Wright announces it, and ultimately Coach Anthony walks through the door?
I had never been through a coaching change, but when Coach Ant walked through the door, I was smiling ear to ear. I knew we had someone special and someone who cared about us coming to coach us.
Yeah, how big is that just the acquaintance? You knew that maybe expectations and things like that weren't going to change?
It was great. I knew he was going to come in and coach us hard, and ultimately he cares about us the most. He cares about our well-being.
And then for you, not the initial red shirt, but an injury red shirt right last year. What was that like, that you've played for a couple of years and now you're hurt? And I don't know if you've dealt with injuries before, but what was it like having to watch the game for a season?
It was tough. It was my first really major injury that took me out of the football season, but I think it was meant to be. And, I just kind of sat back and was there for my teammates and took it all in.
For this team, obviously you're a veteran player now, fourth-year junior. How do you see your role on this team?
I see it not a big role, but just stepping into the role when I need to step into it, making plays when I do need to make plays.
The receiving core, you go into this year with it's seemingly a lot of guys that are kind of similar as far as physical makeup. Do you feel like you have just that good, steady depth? A lot of guys can do different things?
I do think so, yes. I think everybody in the room has a role that they can play, and everybody is very equally important.
And a new quarterback this year. Obviously, Chad Dodson was a 3-year starter. Jackson Berry comes in. He was here in the spring, but limited in spring ball. Talk about the work that he has put in with the receiving core to try and develop some of the things that matter.
The work he put in is tremendous. When he first came in, he made sure to get to know everybody. Mm-hmm. He built a great connection with all of us, and after the spring, it kind of just bled into the summer and getting extra work in, getting extra throws in, and that's ultimately what matters.
So back-to-back wins. I know you feel good momentum right now, but you still have those 2 losses. Talk about the importance of one step at a time to make sure there's not another slip-up.
Those wins are great, but I think it is very important to stay grounded. We win those 2 games, but we ultimately really haven't done anything. We just need to work week by week and get better each week.
You said your brother played in Emporia. That's where we play this week. Any little extra during the week here playing your brother's alma mater?
No, he knows what it is. He will always support me no matter what. Good. And he used to be Emporia State, but now he's Pitt State. So.
All right, very good. Blood is thicker than water, as they say with that. So Greyson Holbert with us on our player segment. We'll take our next break, and when we come back, Coach Anthony will rejoin us on the other side right after this.
This isn't just where you go to class. It's where you chase what's possible. Where grit isn't taught, it's lived. Every drop of sweat writes the next chapter in guerrilla history.
In front of a raucous John Lance Arena have won it!
This is pride. This is your future. This is Pitt State.
The faculty of the school, there's where the students get the inspiration.
Eddie Lomshek back with Pitt State head football coach Tom Anthony, coach out of our player segment. Greyson Holbert here with us, and fourth-year junior receiver out of Blue Valley, and one of those guys that's taken on a little bigger role every year he's been here. Talk about where he is in the process.
The funny part about Grayson is, and like he mentioned in the player segment, man, I wanted him on defense when we recruited him out of high school. I thought he was going to be a heck of a safety. But just a phenomenal athlete, and Grayson's one of those kids that, he told you kind of his rundown through high school, never played wide receiver. So when we brought him here in 2022, it was new to him. And I think he, over the last couple of years, has just been continuing to learn how to play the position, learn how to run routes, learn how to catch the ball. And I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise that he had to take the medical red shirt last year, because I think that was just another whole year for him to grow in that position. And I think now you're finally seeing, just what he's capable of and his ability to run routes, make catches, but also being able to, I think he had 2 carries, on Saturday for almost 40 or 50 yards. So his ability, just with the ball in his hands, he can be dangerous. So again, he's just continuing to get more and more comfortable with playing wide receiver, and you're continuing to see him get better and better each week.
Career day for him, 6 receptions, 121 yards. First career receiving touchdown. He'd had a rushing touchdown earlier in his career, and I'm still waiting for him to pull it down and throw it on one of those hand sweeps. That's not going to surprise me one bit, being a quarterback in high school, but very athletic kid. I asked him about playing at Blue Valley in the Eastern Kansas League, most competitive league in the state. As a coach, what do you like about kids, number one, that come from successful programs, but number two, they're in a league where it is a battle every week?
Yeah, it's really good. We recruit the heck out of that area up there. Obviously, Kansas City is probably our biggest recruiting area, but there's some great football players, in that league. There's some phenomenal football coaches in that league, and I think the great part also about recruiting kids out of that KC area, man, is they all know about Pitt State, and that's a big part of that recruiting piece. Is you want to find kids that want to be here, that know about Pitt State. They know what it means. And we battled to get Grayson. I mean, he had almost every MIAA school that wanted him. And really, I believe it came down to, just a couple MIAA schools, and KU wanted him really bad as a preferred walk-on at the time. And he's one of the few guys in my 20-plus years of recruiting that I've actually been able to get to come here over one of those big-time Division I walk-on opportunities. That doesn't happen very often, so that just shows you that Grayson wanted to go somewhere where he knew he could be an impact player right away, and he's definitely been that for us.
Yeah, and that stuff, man, has that changed, right, with the NIL thing and trying to convince kids, and then D2, you worry about getting poached a little bit as well. The other thing about Grayson, listening to him talk about the culture of the program, the intangibles, man, he just seems like a great locker room guy. He's awesome, and he's one of those guys. He's not one of our captains, but he's a guy that received a lot of votes to be a captain, and he's kind of taken on that. That was a big challenge, for me over the last couple of weeks, is going to some of our, not just our captains, but some of our older guys. Like, hey, just because you're not a captain doesn't mean you can't be one of the best leaders on this team. And Grayson's really ran with that. He's a guy that comes in every day. He works his butt off, does everything we're asking to do. He does extra, and guys see that. And I think he has the respect of our locker room for sure, and he's one of our best leaders. Grayson Holbert, great game for him, and we know more to come from him as well. Coach talked about early in this game, Hayes has the ball for 8 minutes. They get a field goal. You guys answer with a field goal, so it's 3-3. They come right back, and they're in the midst of a 4.5 minute drive possession. They're down in the red zone. Antoine Nunn steps in front of a drag route. Talk about the play he made there to get that first takeaway. Yeah, I mean, we got some good pressure on the quarterback and forced him kind of out of the pocket a little bit, and he kind of floated the ball out there. And, Twan made a great play on it, and Twan's made a lot of great plays on a lot of footballs here for us over the last few years, and we're going to continue, to need him to do that. But was really pleased with our defense in the red zone. That was something we'd struggled with through the first 3 weeks. Obviously, we can't let them in the red zone 5 times like we did Saturday, but our defense stepped up, and we were able to hold them to a field goal or less on 4 of those 5 possessions, which was huge by our defense to be able to do that. Yeah, the field goal thing, having to settle for 3, because that really easily could have been a 2.5 possession game in the fourth quarter instead of 1 possession game. Coach, when they're in these methodical drives, they seemingly were hitting you with a little bit of everything. When you have an experienced quarterback like they do with Hbert, can beat you with his arm, can beat you with his legs, did you feel like you had to prepare for so much because you knew that there would be a run by design or all the different passes he can throw? Definitely. I mean, when you have that quarterback that can beat you arms and legs, you just gotta play disciplined, and you got to tackle well, which we didn't tackle very well, especially early on in the game. Was pleased, though, as the game went on. I do think we were able to generate some pressure to get him uncomfortable. And I think we ended the game with 4 sacks, which was really, really good. When you can sack a really athletic quarterback 4 times and force him to make a couple throws under pressure and be able to take the ball away a few times, that's going to be advantageous for your defense. So proud of our guys the way they were able to do that. Yeah, eventually got there. All 4 sacks in the fourth quarter, by the way, so that is neat. But, yeah, he's a really nice player, a lot of savvy and that sixth sense that only comes with experience. Unfortunately, after the interception, you have to punt it away, but a good punt. Hayes has pinned it their own 12. They'd punt it back to you, and you guys get the go-ahead touchdown, started at your own 40. First play of that series, you get a 37-yard play to true freshman receiver Damian Long. How about that young man? Yeah, D. Long's been awesome. I mean, he's a guy that we knew kind of with where our wide receiver room was at coming into fall camp with a lot of these transfers. We knew we were going to need some of these new guys to step up for us. A couple of our transfers have done a great job for us. And then Damian, with Geno Boyd going down, with a torn ACL last spring, we knew we were going to need some help at that slot receiver position. And man, Damian stepped up, and him and Grayson have kind of become a really good kind of 1-2 punch there for us for that at that slot receiver spot. The 2 catches he had the other day, I thought really showed strong hands. He's not real big. He'll get a little stronger, obviously, with the college weight room. But when you're looking at a kid that's like 6 feet 170, are there some things with certain receivers that maybe you can't teach him, Coach? Definitely. I think for him, he's just fearless. Like that, he does not care if you send him across the middle into traffic. He's a guy that's going to line up and play his tail off. He's going to block for you. He's going to do all the things you ask. Very smart, too. I mean, he picked up on our offense like that. He does not ever have a lot of MAs or busts. Very, very smart football player, and one of our toughest, I think, guys out there in that receiver room as well. I mean, he's not scared to stick his nose in there and take a hit. Out of Burleson Centennial High School, just outside of the Metroplex in Texas. So great to see him on the rise, on the come, if you will, a little bit. And so, and then Luke Nigaman, the show, right? He gets his first of 3, but talk all day about how unstoppable. But for Luke, talk about him bouncing back because he just felt sick about the fumble against Grand Valley.
Definitely, and I mean, we just kept breeding confidence into him, and I even said after the game, like, we're not going to shy away from using that package just because he put the ball on the ground once. Continuing to give him confidence in what we're doing there, and that's going to continue to be a big part of our offense and our team's success moving forward. Hopefully, when we are in those short yardage situations, putting him in there at quarterback.
It's interesting because one side of him is Carson Trimble, who's a quarterback on your roster, but he's an athlete as well. And then you have Jacoby Smith, this fire plug running back. So obviously he gets the majority of those carries, but I'm sure you guys feel like you have some versatility there.
Yeah, there's some flexibility out of that package. I think, obviously with multiple tight ends in there that can all run and catch, and obviously being able to keep a quarterback on the field with Carson. Obviously there's things that, we can continue to advance that package as much as we want to, but right now for us, it's just, get into short yardage and let the big Southeast Kansas legend just keep adding to his mystique.
Yeah, it's the touchdown ratio per carry is pretty good, right? He's going to be flirting with Ronald Moore status on some of that. But also there was a block. Jacoby Smith had a block earlier in the game, and it wasn't on a goal line play, but here he is, that stocky, strong, and a guy that's waited his turn, right? He got some carries down at Central Oak when Cleo didn't play. So how about a running back that's willing to just do what's asked of him? And that block he had on that particular play I'm thinking of was really, really good.
Yeah, Jacoby's been phenomenal for us this year. Again, a guy that just kind of waited his turn, the process. And he was another kid similar to Grayson coming out of high school, kind of did a little bit of everything. We had initially offered him as a safety, and then Coach Wright, really I really want this guy in offense. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. So being able to utilize him now in a lot of different roles, huge special teams contributor for us as well. Incredibly intelligent, smart football player for us, so we can do a lot of different things with him and put him in different spots, and tough as well. I mean, he's going to stick his nose in there in pass protection, and he can lower his shoulder and get you some yards too in traffic.
Gorillas go up 10-3 on that first touchdown run for Nigaman at 7:28 of the second quarter. Hayes comes back, hands to the face, keeps their drive alive. You had him in a second goal at 17, and gosh darn it, there that untimely penalty rears its head again, and that's just part of it. You guys are in a position to answer the interception by Jackson. He just get the high ball going there a little bit?
Yeah, just kind of floated him, floated out there to Cleo, just kind of overshot him a little bit, and they had a guy standing right there, and again, just an incredible play by TJ Atkins, our wide receiver, to run that thing down right before halftime, get the ball tackled. A very similar situation to UCO a few weeks ago, when I believe Luke ran it down. So to be able to save and keep a touchdown off the board at that time and then allow our defense to come out there, and I think we held them to a field goal right there, which was huge, right before halftime. They have all the momentum with that huge interception return, and things could have gone really south right there. Great hustle, great play by TJ, and then great job by our defense to come out and bow up and hold them to a field goal right there.
Yeah, one of 3 times Hayes inside the Gorilla 20 had to settle for 3 points, and that proved to be huge at the end of the day. We need to take our next break. When we come back, we'll go through the second half and eventually look forward to this week when the Gorillas visit Emporia State. Back with more of the Coach Tom Anthony Show right after this.
Pittsburgh State University Alumni and Constituent Relations, engaging Gorilla alumni and friends through Gorilla gatherings, family events, programming, and a variety of benefits and services. Ride with Gorilla Pride in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Personalization available in Kansas and Missouri. Honoring our Gorilla greats and their achievements with Alumni Awards. Find an alumni event near you or learn more about us at pittstate.edu/alumni.
Welcome back to the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Eddie Lomshek with you, perhaps on this Monday on our flagship 100.7 or through the KSHQ app. Video installment of the show comes out noon on Wednesdays through the Pitt State Athletics YouTube channel, so chance to follow it there and get more of it later in the week if that applies to you. Coach, so Hayes gets a field goal. They go up 13-10. 1-score game, and you're getting the ball out of the locker room. What do you remember being the biggest thing to your guys at halftime?
Yeah, just telling them, we got to execute better. I really at halftime, I more challenged the defense than anything. Just the way we played in the first half. Just looked very sluggish, didn't tackle very well, weren't physical at the point of attack. So for me, I don't even know if I said anything to the offense at halftime in the locker room. I spent the vast majority of my time being pretty angry at the defense. So I had a few choice words for them. But again, proud of how they responded.
Yeah.
Made a few adjustments and came out second half, and defense played lights out in the second half.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we talk about settling for field goals, but Hayes was only 4 for 15 on third downs, 0 for 1 on fourth downs. I know everything is charted this day and age. You want to convert as many as you can. You want to keep as many off as you can. What's a good percentage for you guys to convert, and what's a good percentage for your defense?
Yeah, I know offensively our goal on conversion downs, so third and fourth down is 50%. Defensively, our goal is 63%. So we want to win 63% of the time, which we won 70% of the time, 75% of the time, on Saturday defensively. So it was our best game of the year defensively in terms of conversion downs. Offense fell just short of theirs. I think they were in the low 40 percentile. So we chart that every week, and that's a huge. That's one of our 5 team goals is, we got to win the conversion downs, and that'll continue to be a big stressor for us.
First drive of the second half, you guys get the ball at your own 25 after a touchback and missed a field goal, but setting that up, talked about Greyson Holbert. He had a 38-yard run, first play, and you don't always see this. It's an end-around type play or a hand sweep, jet sweep. You run it into the boundary, your sideline a little bit. So when you have less real estate like that, talk about the blocking that has to happen to spring a guy.
Yeah, it's got to be elite. I mean, you got to do a great job of getting on people because there's not as much space, for that ball carrier to work with. And we blocked it up really well on the edge. And what a great way to start the half, get the momentum back in our favor because we really didn't have any momentum going into halftime after that interception they had, and then they got points on the board. So it was a great job by our offense of coming out. And ideally, you want to get points there, but, man, for them to be able to march down the field a little bit, gain some yards, get the field position in our favor, and then Schmitty just kind of pushed the field goal. We're going to continue to lean on Austin. He's I still know he's one of the best kickers in the country, so we're going to continue to lean on him, and he's going to be a huge part of what we do.
He probably wouldn't mind you getting the ball in the middle of the field instead of from the right hash.
I know he's probably sick of kicking field goals from the right hash. He's been 100% on the year when we're not on the right hash.
As a right-footed kicker, and the closer you get, that sharper angle and mixed results with that. So not for a lack of effort. He hit it well enough into the wind, gave it a chance, but it missed. But yeah, Hayes is pinned at their own 26. Not great field position. 1 first down. You guys get it back, and then it really turned into a tug of war. Hayes did have one drive where they had to settle for a field goal, but I put here in parentheses, Jordan Rogers had that hit out in the flat on their sideline, knocked his own helmet off, but it was a second and goal play. And, if he doesn't make that tackle or whatever it is, and then as he's got to leave the field, he's waving his arms, crowd gets into the game. It was a big hit that dislodged the ball. Talk about a play like that, kind of a shot of energy, if you will.
Definitely. I mean, we needed some energy at that point. We needed some momentum, and number 7 is one of the best in the country. He's a huge part of what we do defensively. J-Rod is one of the smartest football players I've ever coached, one of the toughest kids I've ever coached. So, he's one of my favorites of all time I've ever had in 22 years of coaching college football, and he's a phenomenal football player and a great young man.
Fort Hays State from their own 12, an 11-play drive, but had to settle for a 29-yard field goal, go up 16-10, took 6 minutes off the clock, and then there were 4 consecutive punts. And in those 4 series, there were 2 combined first downs. And so defense is playing well. One thing about it, Hayes, big and strong with those 2 interior guys, 315, 325. Pass protection, how'd that grade out? It just seemed like they were able to get home maybe too much with 3- and 4-man rush.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too, I think, is not just their front. I mean, what they were doing coverage-wise, they were kind of playing a lot of really, really soft coverage. Yeah. And, man, it was tough to get anything vertically down the field. So there was a lot of times where I don't know necessarily if it was the pass protection breakdown as much as it was, man, once that quarterback's sitting back in the pocket for 4 or 5 seconds because that coverage is playing so soft down the field, then JB feels like he's got to run around a little bit. So kudos to Fort Hays and just kind of their plan they had in place to just kind of keep everything in front of them, right? Other than the Greyson Holbert touchdown, it was hard to come by passing yards, for us on Saturday. And a lot of that, I think, was due to a good defensive line, but also just what they were doing coverage-wise, playing deep and soft and just not really letting us find windows and get behind them.
Yeah, going into the season, they have some newness. I know that in the secondary, and Chris Brown was pretty open about that, talking with him about the fact that they're not taking a lot of chances and leaving those guys on an island very often. So it was almost like after 3 consecutive possessions, you guys had the missed field goal, and then 3 straight possessions, punt, without a first down. Now with 9 minutes to go, you're down 16-10. You get the ball at the own 37. Seemed like your offensive coordinator said, "The hell with it, man. We're going right." And so, how about that play, JB, to Grayson?
It was
78
phenomenal.
yards.
I mean, we caught him in some quarters coverage, and Grayson ran a phenomenal route. I mean, it was a kind of a little sluggo route on the safety. The safety bid on the initial move, and had great protection up front, and JB stepped up into a clean pocket and threw a great ball, and then Grayson was able to get the momentum back in our favor.
Yep, Pitt State gets the lead with the extra point from Hbert, and then Fort Hays State gets the ball at their own 25 after a touchback. Gorillas had the win in the fourth quarter. It wasn't a huge win at that point, but it still can matter a little bit. And then third play, interception by Jalen Fuchs. How about that play? Would he tip it to himself, kind of?
He did, and it was a phenomenal play. I mean, just watching him on film elevate up in the air to go get that ball, and for him to come down with that. I mean, again, you got the momentum in your favor after the touchdown, and then to be able to get a play like that, even more momentum now in your favor. Just again, proud of our guys to be able to get that after kind of the stagnation we were going through 3.5 quarters there. For our best players to start stepping up for us, that's always good to see. J-Raj on the big hit, Grayson and JB connecting there, and then Jalen Fuchs, coming back and making a play for us. Again, that was really exciting as a coach to be able to see that.
And also, Jalen, you sit here and look at statistics. He doesn't have big numbers, but as a proven corner, an all-conference player in this league, what do you think teams see when they consider who they're going to pick on, for lack of a better term?
Definitely. I think Coach Nutt kind of said it best, the other day in our defensive staff, or the defensive meeting with the unit. He said, man, the most boring job on the field is being a really good cornerback, because no one's going to throw the ball your way, right? And that's kind of been Fuchs a little bit over the last couple of years, is he does not see a ton of targets, which is a testament to how good of a corner he is, and then for him to be able to stay in that mental mindset all game long of just doing his job. And then when that opportunity does come, for him to be able to step up and make the play we need him to make, again, that's just a testament to the type of player he is.
That was another one, though. There was some pressure on Hbert, and he's drifting back. He's kind of throwing that ball off his back foot. So as good as he is, the 2 interceptions, Pitt State did a great job just making him throw it a little bit off balance, and the ball hung just a little bit. So now the complementary football kicks in, because you're at the Hayes 37. You have to cash this in, and you eventually do with Luke Nigman. But this was an important drive to me, because you're at the 37. You want to score, but you already have the lead. Now we're mid-fourth quarter. You guys did it, and you took 3.5 minutes off the clock.
Definitely. I think one of the challenges, the offensive staff, when they came in at halftime, it was like, okay, guys, with what they're doing defensively from a structural standpoint, really not allowing us to get those big chunk yardage pass plays down the field. I think there became a new kind of commitment to running the football in that second half. We were able to do that. I think we rushed for over 200 yards. We were able to move the ball. I think had a really good yards per carry average on the game. And I think that second half commitment to running the football, on top of the defense stepping up and playing well, that's where that kind of complementary thing started to come in. And we were able to run the football effectively there in the second half.
Yeah, if you told me going in the Gorillas are going to run for 210, a 5.8 average, I'll take that every week, right, in this league. And so Pitt State gets it cranked up, because as you did those last couple possessions when you had to have the ball and get first downs, you kind of go to Cleo Chandler with his experience. And we even see him sidestep a couple guys in the hole or whatever. So talk about having a back with his experience in that situation.
Definitely. I mean, the way he runs the football, just from what I've seen over the last season, and then even into the first kind of half of this season, Cleo doesn't lose a lot of yards when he's running the football. He is a tough downhill runner, and he's going to turn everything into at least a 1 or 2 yard gain, even if it's a breakdown in the play. But then again, to see his ability to make some guys miss in the hole yesterday as well. I mean, he's kind of been banged up with a foot injury, and I think he's finally starting to get back to feeling really, really good, and we were able to see that. And then Zamari had a couple really big runs for us there, 2 in the second half, and then on top of that with Luke as well. I was just really pleased to kind of see our offensive line, just the physicality they played with, being able to block up front and gain yards for us.
Yeah, between Cleo and Zamari Pelode-Gary, the Gorillas get 16 carries at about 6 yards a crack. ZPG getting better every game?
Every game. I mean, that's one of those transfer guys that came in this summer, and I think is still starting to get comfortable in the offense. I think you're seeing him get better and better each week as he gets more comfortable. And I think him and Cleo are really kind of starting to establish themselves as a pretty good 1-2 punch for us.
Sometimes when it rains, it pours, and boy, did it pour on Hayes in a span of 7.5 minutes. The Gorillas have a 79-yard touchdown, a takeaway by Fuchs, touchdown after 3.5 minute possession, and then the fumbled snap, and Hbert I know he's got to make a play. He's trying to bend over at the waist and pick it up, but how about the tenacity of James Smith getting that ball?
It was incredible. I mean, when you watch that thing on film, he's got that offensive tackle pass setting on him and leaning on him, and he just dips down right underneath it, and he's able to snatch that football and get it back for us. So that was probably one of our best plays of the day defensively, just to see James do that. It wasn't just a clean, I'm going to fall in this football. I mean, it was, as you watch it on film, for him to have a 300-plus pounder leaning on him, trying to push him out in a pass set, and then for him to be able to dip underneath that guy and be able to recover that football in traffic was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and he's a second-year guy. Talk about him kind of becoming an impact player for you.
Definitely. I mean, we needed him to this year. And obviously with Malik Berry graduating, James kind of became that primary defensive end for us. And I think it's just, again, he's an elite edge guy, plays with physicality. He's got some twitch to him as well as having some strength and kind of a lower center of gravity. He's not a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", right. So he is lower. He does have a lower center of gravity, which I think sometimes makes it tough for those big offensive tackles to block him.
Well, now you're getting into the final 2.5 minutes. Hayes having to empty the tank on timeouts, and the Gorillas get a 5-yard run from Nigaman on a 3rd and goal and go up 15. Minute 32 to play, you're up 15. Obviously, Hayes is out of timeouts, and they're going to try and get first downs and out of bounds. You got to be careful about playing too soft, right? So take me through the mind of a defensive coach in that situation, 2-score lead, a minute 32. Even though they're out of timeouts, what are you telling your guys out there?
Yeah, I mean, we just want to keep everything in front of us. With a 2-score lead, a minute and a half left, and them having no timeouts, probably going to be a pretty tall task at that point for them to be able to get 2 scores. So just really stressing to our defense, just pin your ears back up front, go get the quarterback, and then guys on the 2nd and 3rd levels, just make sure we're playing smart in coverage. We probably stayed out of our man pressure stuff right there. Played a lot more just drop zone where we can have vision on routes and vision on the quarterback. And we knew they were going to get some yards there. Hey, a 5, a 10, a 15. But again, it was all about just tackling it, trying your best to keep it in bounds, keep that clock running, and just make them have to drive the football right there.
A couple of young players, Kiro Martin and Elijah Morton, team up for a couple of sacks for you.
Yeah, I mean, Kiro and Elijah were both guys we knew last year that we had really good football players, guys that played in the 3 games allowed for true freshmen. Elijah had a huge game against Fort Hays last year as well. We played him, and he had a couple sacks last year in one of his 3 games. So those guys are going to continue to be huge players for us, not just this year, but years moving forward as well.
Coach, defensively, you had 10 players with between 4 and 8 tackles. Where are you with the depth you're developing on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think continuing to find who our linebackers are going to be. Obviously with the graduation of all those older guys, just continuing to get those young guys. Blake Carr had another really good game for us. Again, redshirt freshman, started at will linebacker for us. And just rolling a lot of those young linebackers in there, just continuing to get them comfortable with what they're doing. And then, really forcing our secondary, our older guys in the secondary to make those guys feel comfortable, right? It's your job to make sure those guys get lined up. It's your job to make sure we're fitting right on the back end, just so those guys can get more comfortable and play fast.
Family Day is always a festive day. There were a couple of things at halftime. How about Kendall Forbes and Cordell Tench in the house?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Kendall Forbes and her family kind of led us down the gorilla walk. So it was great to have her there. Great to have Alex Gaskell, former player for us, that is her boyfriend. Great to see them. Got to see her, and talk to her a little bit before the gorilla walk. So fun to have them there. And obviously Cordell Tench is one of the best athletes to ever come through Pittsburg State. So to be able to honor a world champion, at halftime of the football game is pretty cool as well. And kudos to Coach Rutledge and just what the track program has been able to do here over the last 4 or 5 years. He's doing a phenomenal job.
Cordell Tench was here 1 year, and he has 5 national titles, 5 school records, and comes home with a gold medal. Pitt State's had a couple of Olympians before, but no gold medalists on the world stage. I'd like to get
Cordell out on the football field, throw him a couple fade balls.
Yeah, run that 9 route and let him elevate right. I'd throw it 5 times a game. 4 of them might go for touchdowns with his physical attributes. So Gorillas win at 31-16 over Hayes. Take our final break. Back to talk about this Saturday at Emporia State. More of the Coach Tom Anthony Show right after this.
Pittsburg State University welcomes you to visit the PSU Veterans Memorial Amphitheater. Located on the PSU campus, the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater is designed as a park that enables visitors to honor those who've served this country through military service. Visitors can experience a special sense of place as they pay tribute to veterans, attend educational programs, and participate in special events at the memorial. The memorial is free and open to the public every day of the year.
Welcome back to our final segment of the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Eddie Lomshek and Pitt State head football coach Tom Anthony. Coach on the road, been good to be at home the last couple, but of course, you got to go on the road. We haven't been to Emporia for 3 years. It's a little bit of a rebuild. I think they lost like 7 starters from last season on both sides of the ball. They're coming off a hard-fought loss at Kearney. That was a 20-20 game at one point in the second half. They lose 34-20. So Hornets, how much of it starts with dealing with their offensive tempo?
Man, I mean, they go fast, and that's a huge, huge challenge for us defensively. You know, Coach Higgins and their offensive staff, they do a great job and have a lot of talent, you know, at the skill positions. They're solid up front. New quarterback, I think he's getting better each and every week. Sure. He's getting more comfortable with what they're doing. Boy, they stress you out with their tempo, you know, so you got to get a call, you got to get lined up, and you got to have some fast communication because they are moving and they are humming with that football.
You'll learn more. We sit here and do this on Mondays. You'll learn more, obviously, as the week goes on. Top of your head, what do you know about their defense?
Defensively, I mean, I think they present a lot of problems. They play that kind of 3 high safety structure that you don't really see every week, and very multiple out of it. Give you a lot of different coverages, have a lot of different ways to bring pressure on the quarterback, and they were one of the top defenses in the league the last couple of years, and I think they've been doing a great job. I mean, you look at some of their scores. Some of the points they're giving up are more the other teams opposing defense scoring. I mean, Angelo State, I think, had a pick 6 and had another pick that I think they took down inside the 5 or 10 yard line. So I think defensively they're playing pretty well on defense. I think just maybe there's some other things kind of going on there, maybe of why some points have been given up. But man, they present a lot of challenges for you just because they're so multiple and can hide a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I know this, that again, last 2 years, 3 of the last 4, they've had to come here. They're going to be excited to get the Gorillas at Welch Stadium. There's no two ways about that. They're back from a long road trip. They've had to go to Angelo, Texas. They've had to go to Kearney, Nebraska. They had a win at home early since Minot State in week 0, but they'll be excited to get Pitt State there. With that, I asked Grayson this. I'll ask you. 2-2, you get the 2 wins, you feel good about the momentum, but you still do have the 2 losses. So talk about your team guarding against complacency just because you've won a couple of games now.
Yeah, I think whether you're 2-2, 4-0, or 0-4, I mean, in this league, you have to prepare each week like it's a playoff game. You know, that's been my stress and my mindset to our guys the whole season, man, is it's, we got to get one. It's one opportunity at a time, and every team in this league has the capability of beating each other on any week, and every team in this league has the capability of being a playoff team for great coaches, great players, and Emporia's definitely one of those football teams. I mean, they're very good. Won a lot of football games over the last few years. Coach Higgins does a phenomenal job there, so it'll be a big challenge for us.
He's been there a long time, have a lot of good things in place in their program, and so it will be a hard-fought game. We know that. Kickoff from Welch Stadium, 1 o'clock on Saturday. Our coverage will begin at 11 a.m. on our flagship 100.7 and through the KSHQ app. Mike Snow has Gorilla Game Day, and then network pregame coverage will come your way at 12 noon. For Coach Anthony and our player guest, Greyson Holbert, I'm Eddie Lomshek. Thanks for being with us for the Coach Tom Anthony Show, and go Gorillas.